Slightly disturbingly, eBay seems to have developed the ability to read my mind and anticipate things that I would like to buy that I've never even heard of. So, I'm about to show you something that I had never ever heard of before. And this was produced by a company called Grandstand. And I'd heard of them before in terms of electronic games, although I never actually had any of their electronic games, but I knew of them, basically. So when eBay threw this up, I was sort of puzzled because I didn't think they did toys. But it turns out that in the early 1980s they did. And they did it in a rather sort of unusual fashion in so much as they didn't make their own, they borrowed from other people. So I present to you the Grandstand Converter Deltarian Fighter? Things of this nature. And you can see the box is quite interesting, but oddly, it's the same on both the front and the back. So if you're stacking shelves, I guess that's quite handy. But it means that you can get unlucky in terms of which way around you open it. You could sort of slide it open and everything would fall out down bottom. Unfortunate, but there you go. There is no more backstory with these than basically, well, nothing. The idea was there was some backstory, I believe, and the backstory was basically that they're evil, but you can take them over and then use them to fight the evil ones. That was kind of as far as it went. This is motorised. I haven't got this out of the box yet, so I have no idea what condition this is actually in. This is fresh from the eBay auction, and amusingly, it came in a box that suggested it was going to be an induction hob. So, stranger things have happened. So, I'm going to open it up, and you may or may not recognise it, I don't know. These guys were licensed by Grandstand from other companies with a view to profiting off the back of the success of lines like Transformers and GoBots that you may have heard of. You may well not have heard of these. I hadn't, because obviously they didn't manage to do as well. They had no cartoon, a little bit of advertising. There are video adverts available on YouTube, and I will link to those. But that was about it, really. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. I'll give you a bit more of the backstory of this now, because as you can see, this was designed to form up multiple different vehicles, basically. Various construction options, 16 different variations to it, apparently. I don't have the instructions here, so I have no idea exactly how it's supposed to go together. All I've got is the box to go by. But I've seen pictures online and so on, that tell me what it was going to be. But originally, this was produced by Takara. And Takara, you may know, is the originator of Transformers, in large part, because Hasbro licensed Takara designs for Transformers, just like Grandstand here licensed a Takara design for release in the United Kingdom as something completely different, except that the toy is effectively identical to the Takara toy. Now, I've taken my information from Soundwave's Oblivion blogspot, and this was known in Takara terms as Armoured Machine Cosmic Fighter. So that's what the original Japanese release was called when Takara first released it in Japan. Strangely, for an early 1980s release, it also then came back, again courtesy of Soundwave's Oblivion information, it came back as the Mini Mutants Cyberjet playset in 1995. So it came back 10 years later, which is bizarre and also quite cool somehow, So I'm just going to have a quick look at it. No idea what that bit is. But you can see here that it's got a functional opening cockpit. In fact, that's immediately counterintuitive to me, but the cockpit opens forwards, and that Andy Robotics did that as well. But then there's this chap. Now this chap isn't in great condition, but this in Japan would have been called a Microman. A Microman was a line of Takara toys, which were these little figures with various bits strapped on. And I watched an advert for them on YouTube, which again you can find on YouTube, obviously. But it's quite fascinating because they're a little bit like early precursors to things like Centurions, because you could bolt on different bits of armour onto these micro men, ladies, I don't know, possibly, in addition to their sort of the basic form, which is this. I mean, I can just about make out where there might have been some pegs. Apparently, this isn't the figure that colour or type that they came with in Japan, but it's another Microman figure, which presumably, again, they just got a slightly different license or something. But I find that really fascinating because it's a really early concept for that kind of thing. We saw kind of do that with Centurions later in the 80s, but these were quite early doors. And the adverts are really interesting as well, actually. You should check out the adverts because they're quite sophisticated. And they remind me a lot, actually, of, and I would say this, Starfleet X-Bomber, because it's just the way that the landscapes and the special effects and stuff are done really reminds me of Starfleet. And again, it's exactly the right era for them to remind me of Starfleet as well. So that chap clearly fits in there very happily, and he doesn't quite. I can't quite actually get the cockpit canopy down over the top of him, so maybe he has to really squeeze in. That's better. Okay. Yeah, so he does just about fit in there. I haven't got that absolutely bob on. But it's got nice stickers on it. It's got interesting styling. It's colourful as well. And, these look like, these are classic sort of chrome-plated 80s missiles. I have no idea exactly where they're supposed to go, but I have a helicopter blade option. So it came with one version of it had a helicopter as an option. I would imagine does that fit in there? But you had all these little, yep, that fits in there. Oops, and that's broken in 2 seconds flat. No, it hasn't. That's okay. It's designed to do that. That's very sensible of them. But what I love about this is that with it being modular, it's actually more versatile than a Transformer would have been. You get a few more play options with this because you can put it together in any different number of ways. And I think that was something that the Japanese were quite big on with their toys in the 80s. I mean, we do see that. And in fact, again, I'm going to do a different video on this, but the other fascinating thing from watching those early Takara adverts was that you can see that the Diaclone and the Microman eras spawned a lot of the Transformers that Hasbro then went on to produce under the Transformers branding. And it just makes me smile because they're in different colours, but even then they were doing the combining element to it, which obviously became a big part of Transformers down the line. But this kind of echoes that for me. The idea that the Japanese were already doing robots that were combiners and vehicles that were combiners for added play enjoyment, was quite common in the 1980s, and it was only because people like Hasbro were bringing it across that we ended up with it, possibly. But we owe a lot of our early toy history in this sense to Japan and to Takara and others, and I will come to the others when I look at a few more examples of the Grandstand Convertors range, and you will find other videos on YouTube about them should you be curious. But again, you see, I'm quite happily, this is fairly obvious that that's where the wings are going to go. You've got some little jet stickers on the back there. It's all good stuff. Almost reminds me of the G-Force Phoenix, because the Phoenix used to combine by sort of absorbing other vehicles, and that looks like it's fairly happy going on there. That looks like it should attach onto here fairly happily as well. So immediately I can produce the Deltarian fighter or some sort of offshoot of it just by popping those on. I think it was originally went on here, although I can immediately see other places where these could fit to give you different play options. There are obviously a lot of different mounting points where you could easily sort of adopt it. And I mean, as I say, I didn't know what on earth this was when eBay threw it up to me. But when I saw it, it immediately just spoke to me, and I thought, yeah, if I'd seen that, and I would have been very little when this appeared in the shops, but if I'd seen this, I probably would have quite liked this at that age, because it looks like a really cool jet / spaceship. It's got a pilot, which is always a nice thing. And, you know, I seem to have gotten quite a complete version of it here. That just looks like a missile launcher. In fact, I think that goes on the front. Yeah, oops, that goes on the front. That's clever. That's jointed like that. Oh, I love that. That's very cool. So you've got a variable geometry nose. That's awesome. I'm loving this. I really am. More than I should at my age, but I am loving it. Wheels? Wheels, I guess. I'm not quite sure how wheels, but wheels. Yeah, wheels, okay. Also got caterpillar tracks in here. So I think clearly it was intended that it had a sort of a land-based. And those are cool tracks, and it's still got the caterpillar tracks on it. So I might not have the manual, but I'm pretty sure this is a pretty complete version of it. And I've got plenty of missiles as well. Nice big silver radar dish. That's cool too. It's all good stuff. Little missile launcher there. It feels like its mechanism will probably still work. It's in remarkably good shape. And I've got another set of caterpillar tracks there again, complete. A little bit looser perhaps than the previous ones, but nevertheless they are there. Got 2 wheels. Oh, looks like I told a lie. Looks like I told a lie. This wasn't advertised or obvious in the auction, but lo and behold, if I'm very careful with it, wow, yeah, okay. Grandstand Convertors Deltarian Fighter instructions. So that's a lot more complete than I thought it was. Fair dues. That's definitely a bonus. It always pays to check out these boxes when you take these auctions for old things, because you never know what you're going to find until you look. So, yeah. Okay. Wow. How to let the machine move, how to fit figure, how to set up jet-type armoured machine, how to set up helicopter-type armoured machine, how to set up tank-type armoured machine. Awesome. So yeah, I mean that's and it is motorised. It's telling me how to insert the batteries as well. Illustrated above are just 3 of the many different fighting machines that can be made. Different fighting machines are illustrated on the gift box. The idea being this is a gift set basically. Apparently, some of these in Japan were released as separate items you could buy collectively, but although not for this one, I don't think. Although I don't have a huge amount of background information on this one, it has to be said. But I'm loving the fact that I've got the instructions. And that also means I can figure out how complete this is. And it does look like I've got most things. It definitely looks like I've got most things. So I'm gonna have fun on the next Cosmic Council, because I could definitely properly assemble this by then with a bit of luck. So that's very cool. I'm loving that. As a kid, I would have thought that was a really, really great thing to get, because it's terrific value. You're getting a lot of stuff that you can play with out of the box in that. You've got missiles, you've got a pilot, you've got separating vehicles. It's great imagination fodder. So fair dues to you, Takara. You knew how to make them. You really did. I'm loving the fact that I had an instruction manual when I didn't know I had one. Actually, I wonder if the seller knew that was in there. Because this wasn't massively expensive. There are various variations available. Although I think not so many for this one actually, so I kind of jumped on this one, but I didn't realise it was quite so complete. But you can I'm sure you can find your own example on eBay if you needed to. Wouldn't be problematic, I don't think. There are a few of these around at any given point in time, but this inevitably set me on a bit of a research path as these rabbit holes go. So I will be showing you a couple of more examples and talking through a little bit more around the interesting backstory to a lot of these, because these are, well, this one isn't a pre-transformer because it never became a transformer, because obviously it doesn't have a robot alternate form, but some of them did, although some of them still didn't become transformers. But I'll talk you through that one on another video. Cheers for now. Please like and subscribe.